Ladies and gentlemen, a couple of months ago, I did an article on the US Census where they admitted that they have undercounted the Black community and overcounted the white community. So, this is something they have done all throughout history. Now, because I used to like to learn about Black history, I remember learning, and this is something I learned on my own, not in school, because they don't teach you shit in school. They like to keep you dumb. At one point in time, there were more Black people in America than white. So we know they will go above and beyond to undercount us. And this is to also ensure they get the most federal funds. Now, of course, this is going to occur when most of the people that work for the US Census look like them. So, they're going to make damn sure they get the federal funds. So this came out, ladies and gentlemen, in the Washington Post. And because of COVID-19, they cannot be out here in the field going face to face in the country. It is posing a problem. In fact, they're going to be concluding on September 30th. So they will not be going door to door beyond that. So that means many in rural communities, many in the Black community will not be counted. And look, if you undercounted us before the pandemic, quite naturally, you're going to do it during the pandemic. Abrupt change to census deadline could result in an undercount of the Latino and Black communities, August 9th, 2020. So census experts, now, I haven't had a knock at my door, ladies and gentlemen, that I did hear about other people. I think True Royal said a census worker came to her door. No one came to mine. In fact, I don't know anybody around here where a census worker knocked on their door at all. So, more than likely, I'll be surprised if they crop up, but nobody's been around here. Census experts and advocates warn the Trump administration's decision to end the centennial count a month earlier than expected will result in a dramatic undercount of the Black community across the country, which could have grave effects on federal funding and political representation in their neighborhood. See, I disagree with that. No matter what, things never change for us. It's been consistent all this time. They point in particularly to an alarmingly low response rate in places such as Rio Grande Valley in Texas and the Bronx in New York, where the coronavirus pandemic had already interrupted outreach in some of the country's hardest hitting census tracts. You know what I think they should have done, ladies and gentlemen? When COVID started spreading in the country, they should have postponed this count. What is the reason why it could not have been postponed? If they were really serious about this, the best thing they should have done was postpone it so that it could, so the virus would subside and then people could go out there. But I guess people just don't think like that. It don't. What is it really that tragic if this one time is different from the others? Is it really that tragic? Okay, not now. Come on. Okay. So the national nonprofit and community activists are putting together urgent persuasion campaigns in an attempt to cram 3 months of work into two, driving through neighborhoods with bullhorns, taped vehicles pour funds into geotag, digital advertising, and phone bank. We're in the middle of a global pandemic, and they might be shortchanging every Latino for the next 10 years. This is cruel, said Lizette Escabandi. Okay, well, I don't know. All I'm saying is I have seen the census for the last couple of decades where I was really paying attention to it, and nothing has ever changed for us, ever. Okay, the census represent an important fault line in the battle over structural racism and equity. With high stakes, it dictates the allocation of federal funds and influences everything from infrastructure investment to education programs like free and reduced lunch to public health care spending. Data is also used when deciding the boundary lines for legislative districts. People who don't self report their information are usually visited by a Census Bureau worker. Because of delays caused by the pandemic, the federal government earlier this year extended the deadline for in person follow up from mid August to October 31st. But the administration abruptly announced it would end it by September 30th instead. By law, the final census count must be delivered to the president by December 31st of the year. It takes, okay. So the Census Bureau officials said that the shortened deadline is part of an effort to meet the requirement. The Bureau declined to comment about the risk of undercounting communities of color, but it issued a statement announcing it would hire more workers to achieve a complete count. Uh huh. Even in non pandemic times, the likeliest community to be undercounted are typically also the most marginalized in the country. Diana Elliott, a principal researcher associate with the Urban Institute, a nonpartisan think tank. That includes a community of color, people living in rural areas or without permanent addresses, high poverty neighborhoods, immigrant communities, and places where government distrust is high. People in majority white and affluent communities, by contrast, are likelier to be counted. If certain areas are not represented with their full accurate count, that means their funding will be diminished as well, Elliott said. I think, for example, the Rio Grande Valley, that area of Texas will get less money than, say, the suburban part of Dallas. And that is not really a fair and equitable distribution of resources. Yeah, but see, you set up everything to be this way. You set the society up by design for it to be this way. The people that are subjugated always get less. You could have changed this if that's what you really wanted to do, but we know at this point that's not what you want to do. You like it this way, and you're trying your best to keep it this way. It don't take 500 damn years to change things. When you see the same thing in place and they're doing the same thing over and over and over, wake up. They don't want this shit to change. Critics have previously accused the Trump administration of politicizing the census. Last year, the U.S. Supreme Court stopped the census from asking participants if they are American citizens, which activists and experts say would discourage undocumented people from participating. Last month, Trump signed a memorandum in support of excluding the estimate number of undocumented immigrants in the country from the count used to, okay, so, okay, that's no big deal. The administration efforts to exclude undocumented immigrants, a radical departure from the past policy, has support among some conservatives. None of them have any right to represent in Congress because they are not citizens of the United States. Yeah, that's true, but y'all give more to immigrants than you do black citizens that been here for generations. Okay? Y'all do more. You go above and beyond. You make sure they're safe. You give them sanctuary towns and cities and counties and states. And we don't have any sanctuary anywhere to keep us safe, but you make sure they get it. Four previous Census Bureau directors testified at a hearing last month that the shortened time frame is likely to lead to an inaccurate count. Well, it's always inaccurate. What's new? The State Data Center, a partnership between the Census Bureau and the United States territories to make census data available to the public, also opposes ending field activity a month earlier. Well, Trump already made the decision. At this point, we're seeing an undercount of Black communities everywhere, deep undercounts of places in the South. And, hey, I'm not surprised. COVID continues to rip through these communities. It is very challenging thing to see communities that absolutely need resources that could be left out. Wow. On Wednesday, the National Congress of American Indians joined several other prominent indigenous rights groups to denounce the administration's accelerated timeline, calling it a direct threat to their well being during a public health crisis, and that they may have lingering effects for years. Our tribal nations and tribal communities have been ravished by COVID-19, and the extent of the census um, was a humane lifeline during the unprecedented global health catastrophe, the group said in a statement. An inaccurate census count will decimate our ability to advocate for necessities for our services in the most vulnerable communities. Well, like I said, I mean, we have been underserved from day one. So I don't see how this is going to be different from us. For us, it's all the same, isn't it? We don't get funding in the first place, but they'll keep getting on mainstream news telling you, oh, well, the Black community is disproportionately getting COVID. Well, where's the funding? Where's the funding to the Black community? You should be pouring funds into the Black community then. But you're not doing it, but you take joy in talking about it, but you don't want to do nothing about it. See, y'all full of shit. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.